Yeah, g'day YouTubers, Tinker O'Toole again here with another video. Today we're going to do part 4 of Hexa. Somebody asked me, could I actually show them a Hexa grind which is exactly the same as a Stihl wheel? So I picked out a brand new wheel. It's only pink oxide. It feels fairly fine. So this is a brand new wheel, never been used. So we're going to mount it on here and we will dress it, and we will show you how to dress this up for the Hexa grinding. So okay, what I'll do now, just bear with me. I'm going to just make sure that the wheel's all nice and true. I might have to spend it's got a little bit of wheel wobble on it. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes trying to straighten that up, which means loosening the nut and moving the wheel around until I find the right position. So we'll do that, and then we'll continue with the grinding process of reshaping or reprofiling the wheel. Okay, so we remounted the wheel. Took about 6 or 7 movements on the side to get the wheel pretty good. It's balanced pretty good. So it's a matter of just loosening this nut and putting the wheel in a different position and spinning the wheel, and just to make sure that it's nice and central, which it is. So that's very, very important. That's why I don't like to swap wheels a lot. So with this particular wheel on this grinder, I'll keep this for my Hexa. I've got many other grinders, as you've probably noticed, and we'll just keep this one for Hexa. So I've got all the tools out. I've got a whole series of diamond files there, and this is another diamond filed, and silicon carbide blocks. That's a larger one. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to dress the wheel, and I'll use a large silicon carbide block, and when I think I'm getting close, I'll put this in so that I've got me 60 degrees either side. So first of all, I'm just going to do it by freehand, by eye, and when I think I'm getting close, then I'll put the template in. Get quite a bit of dust, so wear a dust protector, and I'll be breathing this in. Okay, so that'll do. Now what I'll do now is put this in. Just bring that down, bring that over a little bit closer. Okay, so now I've got me 60 degree in there. I'm just going to dress the wheel a little bit. Turn it around the other way. I'm just going to stop the wheel and have a little bit of a look at that. See what that looks like. Just take your time, because if you go too fast, you're liable to make mistakes. Get in there. Needs a little bit more on this side here. So anyway, we'll true it up a little bit more off camera, because I want to take me time. And when I get it right, I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. Okay, so there's the finished wheel, and I've got a protractor here, and as you can see it's set at 120 degrees, and if we put it in there, that is a beautiful fit. That is fine. So to get that really good as what I did, make sure that you've got a good wheel. Make sure that when you spin the wheel that it spins fairly straight, that it doesn't have any run out, because if you've got too much run out, your center line where your V is going to wobble from side to side, so that's not a good thing. So you've got to be very careful. This is very important that you use high quality wheels and not the most cheapest out there. And the next thing that's important is that you really should make something like this. It's got 60 degrees on it. If you can't get stainless steel, or you can't use any type of steel or aluminium or anything else like that, at least try and get a bit of plastic that you can work with, because one of the most important things is the 60-degree angle, and that can be achieved by sitting the block on there and rubbing it backwards and forwards. You can try and do it by hand. You're liable to make errors, but yeah. So what we're going to do now is angle this over to 65 degrees on the head. So when you've got 120 degrees here and 60, you need to put that on 65 degrees, and that should fall into the tooth quite good. Now we probably need to drop the camera down so that you can see that. We'll do that, and we'll zoom in. Hopefully you can see it. Just bear with me while I set this up to get it spot on. That looks pretty good. I want to just bring that around so that you can see this. So we bring the grinding wheel in. I think you can see that's pretty good. You don't need it any better than that. That's pretty good. So now if I drop it down lower, and I'm going to drop it down a bit lower because there's 3 sides on here that I want you to see, not just 2. On the bottom of the gullet, when you do hexa, you've got 3 sides of the wheel that's important. I'll just grab my pointer. So the side of the wheel, as you can see, grinds the tooth coming in, and the 60-degree angle here is for the hexa that goes down 60 degrees. I think I've got to go down a little bit even more, because you've got the bottom of the tooth. We'll see how that works, which sits in the gullet. And I want to see whether you can see that. Yeah, I think you can. I'll just lock it up in that position. So your 3 sides that we're talking about, you've got the side of the wheel here, your 60 degree here, and I think just see whether you can see this a little bit better if I move the camera. I want to go just up a little bit. You might be able to see this a little bit better. It's really great if you can see, because a lot of people tell you how to do something, but it's great if you can show someone. So if I lift this up just a touch, you can see this other angle, this flat part here. So this will keep the gullet nice and flat. So you've got 3 angles here. You've got the side of the wheel. You've got your 60 degrees going down on that angle, and then your 60 degrees ends up going flat. So it keeps the gullet flat. So I think you can see that, the 3 angles. If I just bring it around a little bit more, you may be able to see that a little bit better, that 3rd angle, that flat part here. You can see that right on the bottom there. So that's the part that rests on the bottom of the tooth. And that's why it's important. I think you can see that now. Look, you can see that really good there. So you've got your flat angle. This is set at 65 degrees. So you've got 65 degrees coming in. Then you've got 60 degrees going down, So this makes you 120 degrees. So the angle is 65 degrees. So that offset will give you, there's your 120, and it's set at 65. So that's the angle, which is exactly the same as a 25 degree angle. So 65 degrees, normally you would come in at a 30 degree angle is pretty common. 30 degree on a Stihl, that is, and 60 degrees you would come in on a Oregon type grinder, which is this. So when you set your zero vertical reference point on a Stihl, you'll move 25 degrees, and on an Oregon you'll move from a vertical position, which is 90 degrees, and you'll move over to the 65 degree position to the as you can see that it's tilted to the right hand side, and that moves that the actual grinder head has gone from 0 degrees and tilted into the 65 degrees, which means it has only moved 25 degrees, which is exactly same as the Stihl, except the Stihl just moves over to the left. So I think that's a pretty good tutorial on how to get a good hexa grind. It certainly is going to grind that tooth. I've duplicated that so that it fits in there. So just to briefly recap, we'll just sort of exit back out here. If you go to the start of the video, you saw that I picked a reasonably good wheel. You need to mount the wheel. You need to spend a little bit of time to try and get the wheel so that it's got as least wheel wobble as possible, because the center line that's on the V here, this center line here, this will cause, if you've got wheel run out, this center line is going to be moving backwards and forwards, and it's not going to be a really good job if you can't spend time to get the wheel run out at a minimal. Look, I'm sort of looking at less than 0.1 of a millimeter. If you can get your wheel run out around 0.1 of a millimeter, that's probably okay. So I hope that helps. Someone was asking me, could I do the video of dressing a Oregon type wheel? And I was really surprised, because the actual center where the V is, I spoke about in part 3, where you've got to be careful that it doesn't start chipping off where the V comes to a sharp point. And I was a little bit careful, trying not to create a real sharp point, so just got to be a little bit careful there. So try and choose a quality wheel, and I think you'll end up with a good result like that. And finally, try and make something like this if possible, even if it's out of plastic, because it'll just mean that holding the stone at a 60 degree angle left and right will mean that you'll get a much better job and a much more accurate job. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Bye for now.